Uh, let's get this started off again. Another video here for Rest in Peace Money. Why is it called Rest in Peace Money? Uh, because I want your money to rest in peace. I don't want it to cause you stress. I don't want it to be something that keeps you up at night. Yeah, you should think about it. Should you obsess about it? Maybe. Yeah, you should definitely obsess about your money and where it's going and how you're going to, you know, execute your plans, of course, okay? But I don't want you to be effectively massively stressed out about it, cause you pain, agony, all that stuff. I know it did me, and it did for a lot of years. And I did figure out that because I didn't really know exactly where it was supposed to go, how I was supposed to manage it, that was just the most frustrating thing. I had some others that were very successful, and they did things certain things their way. Um, but again, it just wasn't going to fit my lifestyle or my finances, and everyone's a little different. But what I learned through the process of learning about the different vehicles and investing, stocks, the different tax implications, and how to use your money and how to borrow against your money, that all put my mind at ease because at a bare minimum, I knew that I wasn't missing something. I started to figure out that I basically had it figured out. And through the process, figuring it out reduced all my stress with the money. And that's what I'm doing here is learning and trying to figure it out and doing and failing and succeeding and all those good things. But I mean, basically, I want to lay this out for my kids and for others too, so that they don't struggle with it. And I talk about these things with them. So the key thing is, we're going to walk through basic the basics. They don't really teach you this stuff in school. Sometimes it's hard to learn from family members because they might be doing things differently. They might have different circumstances. Maybe your parents weren't very good with money. Maybe they were good with money but just didn't care. And so passing that down to you, um, and passing it down to your other family members, they're basically passing down their practicing principles, which could be very little. It could be um, very meaningful to them, and it may not cause them stress, but you're a different person, you know. And I was a different person than my parents, and I was a different person, different wants and needs. And I think through this process, I figured out that the thing I needed most was just, I had to figure it out. I had to figure it all out. I had to know, well, what stocks to pick, what's this cryptocurrency thing going on with Bitcoin? And we'll dive into that too. But, you know, the house was a big thing for me. And I think there's a lot of people that I talk to that were in my shoes. And this video, for you is centered around that. So they think the key thing is walking through, you're buying your first house. And through this process, I learned a lot. And I think I learned the most about money through that process and completing that process. So, one of my practice principles is get one house. You have to have one house. You're going to have one house to live anyways. And you should be looking at that as your goal. Now, I'm not saying buy the house. I'm not saying you got to do that 100%, but it's definitely what I did that gave me peace of mind. And I think it will you too. And one thing was just latch on to the idea that um, one, things are going to go wrong, but you're going to fix them. Two, you're never going to be able to time the market. It's never going to happen. Don't worry about it. Three is, you know, you want to focus on somewhere or something where the payment is going to either you're going to be able to keep it capped or you're going to be able to make money off of it itself. And that's what a lot of people do when they get into the houses. That, they buy the house, they're there for 3 or 4 years, 5 years, and there's a good amount of equity that ends up, following you through that process. And if you're paying down the principal, which is one of the practice of principles that I teach, and I teach my children, is pay off your principals. And that's a principle of paying off your debt as well. So you always want to be paying off your debt, and you always want to be paying off your principals. And basically, through that process, you're going to learn that you're going to have more to show for your efforts. If you rent, most likely you're not going to be able to save much money if you're just, regular average, and you're not like running a business and you're not getting a massive inheritance, or something along those lines. We're just kind of like, hey, like me, the average Joe, basically. And you got a budget, you got to spend, you got to keep up. You got people that have wants and needs, and yourself too. And money is used to obtain those things, obviously. But rent, you're not going to have much to show for it. Now, if you can get a smoking deal on rent, which most people are not, then you're gonna be able to save some money. But if you're renting, okay, at, let's say you're there for 3, 4, 5 years, at the end of it, you're not going to have any equity in the house. You're not going to have a house that you could rent out as well. So you could buy a house and you could leave, move, and rent it out. And somebody will cover your mortgage and you'll still continue to build equity. And so through all those things, I just finally really dialed into, I'm gonna buy the house no matter what. Um, and for me in my situation, I was moving around, a fair amount. And even after all that, I should have bought earlier. I always want to buy. I always, look back and say, crap, I should have bought earlier. Um, but buy a house. That's the number one thing. Now, through buying a house, practice and principles, a lot of it applies. So, one, borrow from yourself if you can. So, if you can't create a down payment, I see a lot of this online nowadays, and there's a lot of pain in the economy. That's for sure, and it's only going to get worse. The inflation is, it never goes away. I mean, matter of fact, if it deflates, you're in deeper trouble. But inflation is just going to keep going, pushing things. And um, okay, so trying to figure out how to scrape a down payment together, and man, I was in this boat. I'll tell you. I'm not in it now, but I was definitely in this boat 10 years ago. Could not get a down payment scraped together. Life catches up to you, and I wasn't effectively saving, and I'm just, did things, that just did not allow me to save the money for whatever reason. Okay. I lived on the West Coast, I lived in Hawaii, and cost of living was, it was wretched. And now that's caught up to the entire economy. The cost of living everywhere is gone up, and it's tough and it sucks. But for me, I figured out, I'm like, hey, if I have to force myself to save, but if it's in the bank account, it gets spent. And you kind of look at it like, hey, if you see it, you're gonna spend it. Or if your spouse sees it, it's gonna spend it. Now, I'm not saying anybody's bad or good or all that stuff, but it's just the nature of the beast. That's one of the practice principles too. Is just that I figured out is, if you got it in your hand, it's gonna go. It's gonna it's gonna be spent no matter what. So don't beat yourself up for that. I mean, everyone's guilty of it, and but focus on this: is that in order to get a down payment, the old school method was, hey, save your money and put it in the bank, and you'll save up the down payment and it'll take X amount of time. Well, that just doesn't really work these days, for a lot of people. A or B, C, whatever you want to call it, is, it's just hard to save a buck. Um, and if it's in the account, then it's like, well, it's going to get spent, and you covered a subscription, or whatever the hell it is, and you're like, well, it got paid, and then you might not do something about it. But if you don't have it and it gets overdrawn, you damn well better bet you're going to probably do something about it. You're going to say, well, shit, I need to cancel that. I'm not going to pay for that again. Or whatever the heck is going on with whatever expense comes out. You're going to find a way to say, whoa, can't afford that. Not going to do that. So make a decision. And I think the biggest decision to make when you're scraping together a down payment is your 401k. Now, for me, the 401k, and the rules that I had for my companies, I think there's a lot similar with a lot of 401ks, is you can borrow against it with certain, rules and applications. So you can borrow against your 401k. So also your employer is most likely going to be matching you in some degree. So free money, effectively. And here's the key. Okay, it's a lot harder to get it out of that damn account than it is your debit account or your savings account or your cash account or even the cash in your safe. It's going to be real hard to get it out of there. So that's the key, is you're going to basically set it into an account where got to you got to make an effort to get the damn thing out of there. So it's kind of like the old mattress, cash under the mattress back in the day, and that, I think it probably came around in the early 1900s, mid 1900s, where you got a bunch of cash under the mattress. I'm sure you've heard those stories where you go into a house on an estate sale and there's a bunch of cash in the mattress or something like that, right? Cash in the mattress, but you set it and you forget it. Now you put it in the 401k and you're matching with your employer, and you're going to increase to whatever you can feel comfortably, dialing up to. And basically, like, whatever's left over, and I'm assuming you're going to do a budget, and you got something set up there, but whatever's left, you spend it and don't feel guilty about it because it's gone, and you're saving, and you're calculating, hey, look, the account's going to go up most likely over the years. Okay, so depending on how fast you want to get there, your employer's going to match it, so you're going to have $100, and they might match 50 or 100 up to a certain percent. And so you should feel good about that. And it most likely will go up with the markets. Obviously, they go up and down, okay? But you have the best chance of it being in that 401k. Once it reaches a certain dollar amount, you can borrow against it or you can withdraw. There's all other options that you can do, but getting the down payment for the house, that's one of the key things. So if you can't save, use 401k.